Hey everybody, I got a question about one of the problems in the homework, and I thought it might be a nice one for me to make a video about because it is a tricky type of question. So here it is, and this isn't the only question that kind of uses the same skills. So by me helping you with this one, it'll actually help you with a few of the problems that you have going. The first thing we need to remind ourselves of is that when we're talking about things like the first quartile, the median, and the third quartile, that those are percentiles as well. So remember that the first quartile is the 25th percentile. The median is the 50th percentile. And the third quartile is the 75th percentile. All right, so I point that out first because calculating percentiles is going to be the key to answering this question. Now, what I'm going to do, though, is instead of calculating those three, the 25th, 50th, and 75th, I'm going to calculate some different percentiles, but of course, finding these will work in the same fashion as what I show you. So here's the ones that we're actually going to do. So I want the 15th percentile. I want the 60th percentile. And the 90th percentile. So the first thing we have to notice is that this histogram is specifically a relative frequency histogram. And the reason that I know that is because along the y-axis here, instead of whole numbers, I have decimals. So the way to read this is to say, if I notice that this bin that goes between 0 and 10 is at 35% or at 0.35, that tells me that 35% of the data is between 0 and 10. And I cut it off, but I believe that this particular question is talking about mortality rate. So it's between 0 and 10 deaths per 1,000 live births was what it was actually measuring. Okay, so 35% of the data is between 0 and 10, right? Similarly, 22% of the data is between 10 and 20. Okay, so that's how we read this. And of course, 10 isn't labeled, but I can always add it in because it's exactly halfway between 0 and 20. All right, so when we go to calculate these percentiles, we have to remember that a percentile is the value at which that percent will be below you. Okay, or to write it out like this, the 15th percentile is the value where 15% of the data is below. So with a 15th percentile, you're going to report an actual variable value, meaning you're going to report one of these numbers that are down here along the horizontal axis. Let's see, let's actually make that look like a 10 here. Okay. All right, now to start making progress on calculating this percentile, let's understand that, first of all, let's look at this number 10 here. The fact that 10 is the endpoint of this first bin, and this bin goes all the way up to 0.35, that actually tells me I can make a statement here. I can say that 10, the variable value 10 is the 35th percentile. Okay, 10 is the 35th percentile, because clearly if I look at a value of 10, 35% of the data falls below 10. So where is the 15th percentile? Well, it's got to be somewhere in here, right? It's got to be somewhere lower than 10. Maybe it's here, maybe it's here. We're not quite sure. But what we do know is that any answer between 0 and 10 would be reasonable, right? So we can maybe say something like this up here. So the 15th percentile is between 0 and 10. Now, when you actually go to type that in, just put a number that's between 0 and 10. So, you know, maybe some guesses are better than others. So, for example, 15% isn't quite halfway to 35%. So maybe go a little less than halfway to 10. So maybe I'll give an answer of 4. Sorry, I'm not going to actually put it there because that's the first quartile. But if I was putting this in an answer blank here, I might put 4. But someone else who put 3 would also get counted correct. So that's how we find the 15th percentile. Let's talk the 60th percentile. Right? We've already established that 10 is the 35th percentile. Maybe let's make another similar statement. Let's look at 20. So can we make a statement about 20? Well, 20 is it's going to be the 57th percentile. Okay, why is that? Well, because if there's 35% of the data between 0 and 10, and there's 22% of the data between 10 and 20, then that means overall, actually, let me write it like this. Overall, if I add these two together, 0.35 plus 0.22 is 0.57. So 57% of the data is below 20. And so that's why I can say 20 is the 57th percentile. At the same time, if I go up one more, if I go up to 30, which would be right here. If I go up to 30, then I can say 30 is the, okay, well, what is it? If I add one more here, then that's going to be the 0.57 from before plus the 0.12 right here, which is going to be 0.69. So 30 is the 69th percentile. Now, if we're looking for the 60th percentile, that means it's got to be somewhere between 20 and 30. Right? So somewhere in here. Okay. So again, it doesn't matter. We'll just say the 60th percentile is between 20 and 30. So any answer between 20 and 30 is fine. The 60th percentile is much closer to the 57th percentile. So maybe I'll keep the number kind of small. Maybe I'll say 22 or 21 or something like that. But any number between 20 and 30 would be acceptable. All right, then let's keep going with the 90th percentile. This one will take us a little bit more time because these are much smaller bins. So when I add in the 0.03, I'm not going to write all this out. I don't want it to get too cumbersome here. So we have the 69% plus the 3%. That puts me at 0.72 overall. Then right here, I add the 0.72 to the 0.08 and get 0.80. Then I add this in, add the 0.8 to the 0.07 and get 0.87. So here, just as pause for a second, 60 is the 87th percentile. Keep going. That 0.04 is added to the 0.87, so 0.91. Okay, so now I've gone past it. So just to kind of do similarly to what I did before, 60 is the 87th percentile. And 70, right? Of course, 70 being right here. 70 is the 91st percentile. And of course, we're looking for the 90th. So that means the 90th percentile is between those, between 60 and 70. So again, any answer in there is fine. Since 90th is a little closer to the 91st, maybe I'll give an answer that's closer to 70. Maybe call it 67 or something like that. And so that's how I can calculate the 15th percentile, 60th percentile, and 90th percentile. So when it comes to finding Q1, the median, and Q3, same idea, but you're looking for the 25th, the 50th, and the 75th percentile. So I hope you found that helpful, but definitely reach out if you have any questions, particularly about any of the calculations that I did in this video. All right, thanks, and have a nice day.